This is the last chapter of section 4, which is the section dealing with existence. And I don't know if it's relevant or not, but Vasistha continues not by answering any question of Rama's, but by giving him some advice. Vasistha continued, "O Ram, one who is wise and who is capable of inquiring into the nature of truth should approach a good and learned person and study the scripture. His teacher should be free from craving for pleasure, and he should also have had direct experience of the truth. And with his help, one should study the scripture, and by the practice of the great yoga, one can reach the supreme state." The great yoga can't really be anything else except turning of the attention onto the attention, because that takes you to that state which there cannot be anything beyond. O Ram, you are indeed a spiritual hero and an abode of good qualities. You are free from sorrow. You have reached the state of equanimity. Give up all delusion through the highest form of intelligence. When you are free from all concern about the objects of the world, you will be established in non-dual consciousness, and that is final liberation. Yes, we've got this sense of final liberation as if it's once and for all. But I think, as I've said before, this is a misconception. This sense of final liberation, we could say it's ultimate liberation, in the sense that there's nothing beyond it, just like I said a few moments ago. There's nothing beyond it. But it's not a once and for all state, it's something which has to be sustained. Effort has to be ongoing in order to maintain final liberation. There is no doubt about this, and sages of self-knowledge will follow your noble example. Rama, only a person who is intelligent like you, who is good-natured and equal vision like you, and who sees only what is good, is entitled to the vision of wisdom which I have described here. Well, this vision of wisdom is only going to be apparent to those to whom it's apparent. Most people are just going to dismiss all of this. They're not going to know what to make of it. O Ram, as long as you're embodied, live without being swayed by likes and dislikes, attraction and aversion, in conformity with the standards of the community in which you live, but without any desires and cravings. Constantly seek to discover the supreme peace as the holy ones do. There's a bit of the old render unto Caesar what is Caesar's here. You get on with the only thing that really matters. And normally we're living in a community, and there are certain things we've got to do in order to get by in the world. So we get on with that, but also constantly seek to discover the supreme peace as the holy ones do. It is by emulating the example of the holy ones that one makes progress towards the supreme state. Whatever be one's nature here in this life, that alone he obtains after leaving this lifespan. But he who exerts seriously now is able to overcome such predispositions and exalt himself from the states of darkness and stupidity, tamas, and impurity, rajas. It is by the exercise of one's wisdom that one can ascend from these other states to the state of purity and enlightenment. It is only by intense self-effort that one obtains a good embodiment. There is nothing that intense self-effort cannot achieve. By the practice of Brahmacarya, this is continence or whole soul devotion to Brahman, it's the traditional second stage of life after youth and before being a householder. By the practice of Brahmacharya, In other words, in this context, it's about directing our attention as often as possible back to itself, and the realization that this can only be the absolute Brahman. Courage and endurance and dispassion, and by intelligent practice based on common sense, one obtains that which one seeks to obtain, self-knowledge. Ram, you are already a liberated being. Live like one. I don't think you should live like one, you should realize your nature as one. We've got a mixture of things here. We've got this exhortation to self-effort, and here we're having the carrot waved in front of us of attaining a good embodiment. Well, that's what we don't want. We don't want an embodiment. We don't want to be caught up in notions of the body. What we really want here is what it ends up with, self-knowledge. So perhaps there's, from the middle of this chapter, where we're being asked to live in accordance with the standards of the community, in that context we are going to be having our composure challenged, and therefore we must take the opportunity to find inspiration to maintain that composure. We've got tendencies within us. These are the tamasic and rajasic tendencies which direct us away. We've also got the sattvic tendencies which help us turn our attention around. And we apply self-effort in encouraging these sattvic tendencies. And if perhaps we're just not on the ball, then we can think about other benefits. And here it talks about a good embodiment. But we must go beyond that. Immerse ourselves as much as possible in this teaching. Courage, endurance, dispassion, and intelligent practice based on common sense. We arrive at self-knowledge. So this is what the advice to Rama is, and then we can realize our nature as essentially liberated.